Cristiano Ronaldo was fast, but even he couldn't outrun the silence his mother left behind. His boots were torn, his future slipping. Then he made a choice no rising star would dare to make. He vanished, and the world started whispering, "Who is the phantom runner?" What they didn't know was that his greatest win would never be scored on a scoreboard. Just before we get back to it, I'd love to know where you're watching from today. And if you're enjoying these stories, make sure you're subscribed. The stadium is breathing. It hums, crackles, pulses, but it does not cheer. Floodlights flicker overhead like dying stars. Rain drips in slow motion, each drop glinting as it falls through the cold night air. The crowd is on its feet, but their mouths are still. A ghostly silence hangs like fog over the pitch. He runs. Cristiano Ronaldo, face like stone, eyes like fire. He sprints, cutting through defenders like a thread through fabric. Every step lands with a slap against the soaked turf. Every pivot exact, surgical. But there's a sound that doesn't belong. Chook! A faint tear.
He doesn't look down, but he feels it.
The left boot, already frayed at the edge, beginning to rip wide open. The leather curls like a wound, refusing to heal. Still, he runs. The ball sticks to him like it knows it belongs there. 20 yards from goal, one defender left. The stadium holds its breath. Then, his eyes lift, just for a moment, to the stands, to that seat. Empty. Second row, third from the aisle. She always sat there, hand over her heart, eyes watering every time he touched the ball. But tonight, she isn't there, and he knew she wouldn't be. But still, he looked, and in that glance, something buckles. His ankle gives, slipping slightly in the torn boot. His knee jerks sideways, a flash of pain. The ball rolls ahead, just out of reach. The crowd gasps. He stumbles. Time fractures. In that frozen instant, his breath hangs in the air like smoke. His hands hover mid-fall. The stadium lights flicker again. The soft zack above. Everything slows, collapses into silence. Then the voice comes. Low, ghostly, like it's whispering through the rain itself. They called him unstoppable, but no one ever asked what he was running from. A flashback slams into the frame. A child, barefoot, sprinting across a gravel street. His knees are bleeding. His mother's voice is calling out. He doesn't stop. Cut back. The torn boot now dangles by threads. The ball is gone. The defender clears it, but Ronaldo's eyes are no longer on the goal. They're locked on that seat. That one, quiet seat. And he stands still. Not injured. Not defeated. Just remembering. The silence isn't from the crowd. It's from within him. A silence that's echoed through locker rooms, buses, hotel rooms, and nights alone with nothing but the memory of her lullabies to keep him sane. She told him once, "Your feet may break, but if your heart doesn't, they'll never know where the strength really lives." The whistle blows, but the story doesn't end here. It hasn't even started. The voice returns, softer now, not questioning, but inviting. To understand this moment, you have to go back to where the silence began. Before the lights, before the cheers, before the torn boots, there was only silence and a woman who refused to break. The town of Ridgeport was known for three things: its rusted factory skyline, the faded football posters peeling off street lamp poles, and a legend no one spoke about anymore, Cristiano Hale. She had been a comet once, a track star with lightning legs and medals that shimmered like promises. People said she ran like wind caught fire. But then, one day she vanished. No press release, no farewell, just gone. And 5 years later, she reappeared, not in the stadiums, but in a worn-out duplex on Baker Street, holding the hand of a skinny boy with hungry eyes and no shoes. Cristiano. He never asked her why they left their old life, and she never told him. Every morning, Clarissa packed lunches she couldn't afford. She pressed love into sandwich bags and kissed him on the forehead like her lips were stitching something back together. Then she went to her job at the diner, then the pharmacy, then night shifts cleaning offices no one thanked her for. At night she coughed when she thought he was asleep. He never was. Cristiano spent his childhood in the shadows of glowing stadiums, their floodlights beaming into the sky like something holy. He'd press his nose against the chain-link fences, imagining himself inside, but inside wasn't for people like them. At school, he spoke less than most kids. He kept to himself, except on the pitch. There, everything was different. His body spoke when his mouth wouldn't. He played barefoot, not because he wanted to, because they couldn't afford new cleats. His first pair of real boots came wrapped in newspaper and smudged fingerprints, second-hand and 3 sizes too big. He didn't know until much later what Clarissa gave up for them. She'd pawned every medal she had. There was another boy, Brennan Worth. Where Cristiano was quiet, Brennan was loud. Where Cristiano had bruises, Brennan had brand new gear. He was the coach's favorite, the sponsor's darling. His dad owned a dealership. His mom drove a Porsche to drop him off at matches. But when they faced each other on the field, none of that mattered. Cristiano outworked him. He didn't always win, but Brennan knew. He knew that behind those silent eyes was someone who refused to bow. Still, Brennan made sure he stayed king off the pitch. Whispers, taunts, charity case, rust boot Ronaldo. Maybe your mom can mop up the locker room next. Cristiano didn't flinch, not once. But Clarissa knew. One night, as she folded his kit in silence, her hands paused on his jersey, a rip near the collar. Mud that wouldn't wash out. She ran her fingers over it, like she was tracing the weight of his shame. Then she looked toward the small wooden drawer beside the kitchen table. Old, weathered, always locked. She whispered to herself, just barely audible, over the hum of the fridge. He must never know. Coach Troy had seen 100 kids with dreams bigger than their discipline. He was an ex-pro, bitter and blunt, with a scar across his eyebrow and a stopwatch always ticking. He didn't do favorites. He didn't do feelings. And he didn't trust potential. But something about the Hale boy made him pause. Cristiano ran drills with no complaint, showed up early, left last, spoke when spoken to, never once asked for praise. Coach Troy watched from the sidelines, arms crossed. He saw the way Cristiano moved, economical, precise, all muscle and silence, but also the weight, the kind of burden that didn't come from the game. After practice one day, Troy caught Clarissa waiting alone by the fence. Her eyes scanned the pitch like she was watching something she'd once known intimately, now from a distance too far to cross. "You were faster than half my men," Troy said, surprising her. Clarissa smiled faintly. "Not anymore. You ran like hellfire back in the day." She nodded. "Now I just run to survive." There was a pause. "You hiding something?" he asked, his tone not unkind. She looked at him then, really looked, and said nothing. In the Hale house, things were never said directly. Cristiano knew there were bills they couldn't pay. He knew Clarissa sometimes skipped meals, pretending she was too tired to eat. He knew the cough was worse when she was alone in the bathroom, muffling it with towels. But he also knew not to ask. Because Clarissa's strength wasn't in what she carried, it was in what she hid. She kept a little journal beside the sink. Once, when she was out, he peeked. Inside was a single line, written again and again. "My son must never feel like I settled. He must think I chose this." One rainy Saturday, Ronaldo scored 2 goals in a muddy scrimmage. Brennan tripped him afterward and laughed when he fell face first in the muck. Coach Troy blew the whistle, pulled them apart. Brennan's father complained to the board the next day. But that night, Clarissa lit a single candle at the kitchen table, sat across from her son, and handed him something wrapped in brown paper.
He opened it slowly.
Inside, a fresh pair of boots. Not new, but better. Lace tight, soft leather, clean. His eyes flicked up. "But doesn't matter," she interrupted. "They'll carry you farther than I ever got." He nodded, silent. Then she stood, walked to that locked drawer again. She placed her hand on it, just long enough, and whispered, "He must never know." It wasn't just about football. It was about survival. About legacy, about a woman who once touched greatness only to give it up, not because she failed, but because she chose to make her son the finish line instead.
And Ronaldo?
He ran like he knew it. Like every match was repayment. But the truth was still locked in that drawer. And one day, it was going to break everything wide open. It was the kind of tournament Ronaldo wasn't supposed to know about. Invite-only, closed-door, hush-hush elite. Held 2 towns over, in a glass and steel complex. It was the playground of chosen sons, the kind of place Brennan belonged to by birthright, where cleats were custom, jerseys were pressed, and parents watched from private lounges, with lattes in hand. Cristiano found out about it by accident, overheard Brennan bragging in the locker room. "Only the best of the best," he said, tossing his platinum-stitched duffel onto the bench. "Scouts from New York, Miami, maybe even Barcelona. Not your average community league stuff." Cristiano didn't respond. He never did. But something in his eyes flickered. That night, while Clarissa slept, He pulled open her filing drawer, quiet, surgical. Inside, mail, insurance forms, a few work receipts, and tucked between them, an old school ID from a cousin they hadn't spoken to in years. Same first name, similar enough features. It was a stretch, but so was his entire life.
He made the call, faked the registration, no parent signature, just determination, and a voice that trembled but didn't crack.
2 days later, he stepped onto the field. Boots duct taped at the sole, shin guards made from repurposed foam, and a borrowed jersey, 2 shades off the team color. He looked like a ghost among giants. And they laughed. Brennan was there. Naturally, clean cut, sponsored. His cleats sparkled like chrome. He saw Cristiano across the warm-up zone, and smirked. No way, he called out. Did someone leave the charity gate open? The others chuckled. Cristiano said nothing. But inside, he burned. The whistle blew. From the start, it was different. The ball moved faster. Players didn't miss. Tackles were ruthless. No time to breathe. But he didn't fold. He adapted. Cristiano weaved like silk through gaps that didn't exist. His footwork was music no one had heard before. Quiet, relentless rhythm. In the 27th minute, he stole a pass mid-air, danced past 3 defenders, and chipped the keeper from 25 yards. The stadium went still for a heartbeat, then erupted. Even Brennan stared, speechless. On the sideline, scouts leaned forward, pens frozen above notepads. This wasn't just talent, it was hunger. A boy playing like his life depended on it. Because it did. He scored again in the second half, not flashy, just cold, perfect execution. The crowd, once dismissive, now chanted, phones out, capturing every touch. The narrative shifted. Who's this kid? What's his name? Where did he come from? Cristiano kept his head down. He wasn't here to belong. He was here to be undeniable. But some people don't like when a ghost steals the spotlight. After the final whistle, 2 goals, 1 assist, team win. A man in a blazer approached the field manager. Whispers, a glance toward Cristiano, a nod. Minutes later, as the teams filed out, a staff member called him over. Need to verify your registration. His throat tightened. They led him to a side room, pulled up the form, cross-checked it. The ID didn't match. The emergency contact was fake. He tried to explain, stammered. I wasn't trying to. It didn't matter. The man cut him off. You're disqualified. The goals are void. Your team forfeits. The world collapsed in silence. It wasn't the disqualification that broke him. It was the look. As he left the stadium, players whispered, laughed. One had already posted a clip, a slow-motion replay of him scoring, followed by the disqualification announcement, set to a cruel remix. Caption, torn boots, torn dreams. By morning, it had over 400,000 views, and counting. He walked home under dead streetlights, alone. The rain came again, like it always did when he was hurting. Clarissa was waiting at the table. Her eyes were tired, but not angry. He dropped the boots in front of her. The tape had unraveled. One sole flapped like a broken jaw. I lied, he said. She nodded. I embarrassed you. She shook her head. I'm sorry. She looked at the boots, then at him. Her voice soft, the kind of softness that hid steel. Do you know what it means to make silence clap? He frowned. She leaned forward, picked up the boots gently, held them like relics, then placed them back in his hands. When your soul runs louder than the crowd, even silence will clap. But Cristiano blinked. Tears welled, not from shame, but from something deeper. The realization that he hadn't failed. He had arrived. The world just wasn't ready yet. He didn't go viral for scoring. He went viral for being found out. But the right eyes had still seen him. And Clarissa, she didn't need to. She'd known all along, because she'd heard the silence clap. Before anyone else ever listened. The house was still. Not quiet, still. The kind of stillness that made sound feel out of place. Even the clock on the wall ticked like it was trying not to intrude. Cristiano moved slowly, his movements careful, almost reverent. Clarissa was upstairs, sedated. The doctor had called it a temporary collapse, chalking it up to exhaustion and low blood sugar. But Ronaldo had seen the moment she dropped the glass, her hands trembling long before it hit the floor. He'd never seen her fall before. Not Clarissa. She was the constant, the anchor, the reason he still stood. Now she lay upstairs behind a closed door. So, he cleaned? Not because the house was messy, but because he couldn't sit still, couldn't let the silence settle. The drawer near the kitchen caught his eye, the one she always touched, the one she always whispered toward. He paused, felt something in his chest twist. Then, slowly, he opened it. Inside was a sealed envelope, yellowed edges, a hospital stamp, smudged in the top left corner. His name wasn't on it, but her handwriting was unmistakable. He almost didn't open it. Almost. But he did. The letter was dated August 16th, the day he was born. Inside, a doctor's note, a blood panel, words like degeneration, fatigue onset, and autoimmune probability. Ronaldo read slowly, lips moving but no sound escaping. She'd been diagnosed the same week she had him. And she told no one, not even him. Below the medical file was another letter, this one typed official. A scholarship offer. Florida State University, full ride, track and field, international prospects. The kind of offer kids dream of. Signed, sealed, ready to change her life. She never sent a reply. Instead, she packed her bags, moved across oceans, chose motherhood. Chose him. The pages fell to the floor. Cristiano sank to the edge of the kitchen stool, but it felt a mile below him. The silence roared now, the stillness cracked wide open, and inside it truth. She gave up everything. Not because she was forced, but because she wanted to, and never once did she let it show. Not in the way she held herself, not in the way she kissed his forehead before every match, not in the way she stood in the pouring rain, hands clenched, while other parents waved umbrellas and credit cards. He thought he was fighting alone, but she'd been bleeding in silence since the day he was born. And he never saw it. The locker room was empty, the gym was closed, everyone had gone home. But Cristiano needed to be somewhere that smelled like work and sweat and failure, somewhere that made sense. He sat on the cold bench, face buried in his hands. The echo of dripping water from a leaky pipe filled the room like a metronome of heartbreak. The letter sat beside him, folded, but now creased and damp. His shoulders shook, silent sobs. No cameras, no crowd, no one watching. Only the weight of knowing that, while he was chasing applause, she was hiding pain. And yet she never asked him to stop. A voice broke the flashback, her voice soft and breathy from a memory buried deep. If I gave up my dreams, you better outrun them. Don't let me waste that sacrifice. Make me proud. He could see her now, younger, legs like springs, sprinting across the clay track in the Caribbean heat, her coach chasing behind, clipboard in hand. Clarissa, you don't disappear on the cusp of glory. But she had. She ran right past glory, right into motherhood, into the shadows, into him. He stood slowly. The decision wasn't sudden. It had been building for years in the duct tape boots, the bruised knees, the ignored praise. But now it crystallized, cold and sharp in his chest. No more begging to be let in. No more chasing boys with names on jerseys and zero scars. From here forward he would earn it. Not for revenge, not for pride, but for her. For the woman who gave up gold medals to lace-torn boots with thread and faith. Outside the sky cracked open. Rain again. Always rain. Cristiano walked home, without a hood, letting it soak through. He didn't flinch. When he opened the door, Clarissa was awake. Weak, pale, but awake. She looked at him, with tired eyes. And he didn't say a word. He just walked over, sat beside her, and held her hand. For a long time, neither of them spoke. And then, as if she knew, she whispered, "You opened the drawer, didn't you?" He nodded. She smiled faintly. "You weren't supposed to. I needed to." Clarissa exhaled, not angry, not ashamed, just relieved. And for the first time, she let her head rest on his shoulder. Together, in silence. The silence that would one day clap loud enough to echo around the world. The alarm went off at 3:45 a.m. Not a phone, not a watch. An old kitchen timer Clarissa had used for baking before she got too tired to stand for long. He liked the sound it made, sharp, metallic, like the start of a race. Cristiano swung out of bed before it could finish ticking. Socks, sweatpants, hoodie, silence. He didn't turn on lights, didn't make noise. Clarissa needed rest, more than he needed approval. Outside the world was black and biting cold. The street lights flickered like they couldn't decide if this hour deserved illumination. He strapped bricks into his backpack. 4 of them, the corners dug into his spine, but he welcomed the pain. Pain had become routine. The town's high school field was locked, so he jumped the fence. He ran wind sprints, ladders, push-ups, suicide drills. Then again, and again. The bricks pulled at his shoulders. His legs screamed. He didn't stop. By 6 a.m. his hoodie was soaked through. His fingers trembled. His breath came in clouds. No one saw him. Except one man. Coach Devin lived out of a van parked behind the rec center. A former scout. Used to work for a second-tier franchise out of Baltimore before the alcohol and a bad call ended his career. Now he lived in shadows and watched. He saw the kid running alone for days, weeks, never missing, never talking, just working, like he had something to prove to the dirt itself. At first Devin thought it was a one-off, a phase, maybe a kid with too much energy. But then he watched him train with broken cleats, soles duct-taped, laces frayed. He watched the discipline, the obsession. The boy ran like he was chasing ghosts. Devin didn't say a word, just started filming. Old phone, cracked lens, but it caught enough. He uploaded the first clip without even a caption. Then, the second, the third. He used a burner account. No tags, no bait. Just raw footage. And a single phrase in the bio. The Phantom Runner. The first video got 72 views. The second hit 200. By the seventh, something shifted. A girl named Emma Duval, sports blogger and journalism major at Columbia, found the clip late one night while researching a story on underdog athletes. She was writing an expose on how raw talent gets overlooked in favor of wealth and politics. The moment she saw the boy, no name, no backstory, just movement, she paused her playlist and leaned forward. She watched him sprint under the fog, bricks bouncing against his back. Watched him collapse mid-drill, then crawl to the next line. She couldn't look away. Emma posted a tweet. There's a kid training with bricks at 4 a.m. in the dark. No sponsors, no tags, no excuses. Who is he? Phantom Runner. 12,000 likes in a night. That morning, the clip hit 80,000 views. Cristiano didn't know. Not at first. He kept training, kept running. He ate quietly, slept early, cut sugar, lifted textbooks when he couldn't afford weights. Every day was pain and peace. Until a kid at school nudged him in the hall and whispered, "Yo, you kinda look like that Phantom Runner guy." He froze. "What?" "You know, the video. The one with the bricks." Cristiano walked away. But later that night he borrowed Clarissa's old tablet and searched it. The clip loaded slowly, buffering. Then him. Hood up, drenched in sweat, back hunched, boots slipping. A stranger's voice narrated from the comment section. "This guy doesn't train for applause. He trains because something inside him refuses to quit." He shut it off. Heart racing. Not from fear. From something scarier. Hope. Meanwhile, Brennan Worth was choking. He'd been picked for a national training camp. Top tier. Exclusive. Big names. Big scouts. But on day one, he flubbed 3 touches in the first drill. His timing was off. His confidence shattered. It didn't help that whispers filled the halls before camp even started. You hear about that phantom kid. Some say he's local. Scouts are watching him now. Maybe they invited the wrong one. Brennan laughed it off. But it echoed back in Ridgeport. Coach Devin finally approached Cristiano. Caught him just before sunrise, standing in the middle of the field, sweat dripping from his brow like melted armor. "You know you're going viral." Cristiano turned. "What?" "Online. People watching you, rooting for you. You're a ghost in the algorithm, kid." Cristiano blinked. "I didn't ask for that." Devin smirked. "Exactly why they're watching." Then he reached into his van, pulled out a gym bag. Inside, real cleats. Old, scuffed, but solid. "Found these in storage," Devin said, tossing them over. "They're not duct-taped. They've earned better." Cristiano didn't say thank you. He just nodded. And ran harder. Emma kept digging. She posted comparisons. Mapped out shadows from streetlights in the footage, cross-referenced timestamps with public park hours. Her blog post titled "The Phantom Runner is Real, and He's Training Among Us" hit 100K shares in a day. Suddenly, scouts were calling each other. DMs were flying. Emails flooded Devin's burner. Still, no one knew his name. And Cristiano liked it that way. He didn't want fame. He wanted to be undeniable. One morning, Clarissa stepped onto the porch and saw a small crowd at the fence. Phones up, watching. She turned, confused. Cristiano jogged toward the house, sweat on his brow. They applauded. He looked at them, bewildered. Then at his mother. Her eyes said everything. It's starting, isn't it? He nodded once, then slipped inside. The nickname stuck. The Phantom. Some thought it was marketing. But those who knew, those who really watched, understood. He was anonymous because the world hadn't earned his name yet. He was a legend before a contract. And somewhere in the haze of likes and reposts, one truth pulsed louder than ever. He didn't need the spotlight. Because he was the storm. And the world was just beginning to hear the thunder. The letter came in an envelope that didn't belong. It was thick, embossed, too elegant for their mailbox, which tilted at an angle and squeaked every time you opened it. Cristiano didn't tear it open. He slid his finger beneath the seal, like it was sacred. Inside, a formal invite. Striker trials. Atlas Academy, Miami, full ride, world-class coaching, 3-day evaluation. Report by Friday. No parental signature needed. His heart stuttered, not with shock, but with quiet confirmation. He had earned it. No scouts, no connections, no favors. Just blood, sweat, brick-weighted mornings. He turned to Clarissa. She was sitting on the porch, pale under the morning sun, a blanket over her knees. He walked over, crouched beside her, handed her the letter. She read it slowly, then looked at him with eyes that shimmered, not from pride but fear. "Miami?" she said softly. He nodded. "It's 3 days." He waited. Clarissa forced a smile. "Then you better pack." He booked the bus himself. No flights. Too expensive. Coach Devin promised to drive him to the station. Said it was time. "You ready to make noise?" he asked as they tossed the duffel in the trunk. Cristiano just nodded, silent, steady. But inside, he was already in Miami. Already on the field. Already proving to the world that the Phantom had a name, and it mattered. Then the phone rang. 3 blocks from the bus terminal. Cristiano answered. It was the neighbor, Mrs. Talley. Her voice cracked before she even got the words out. "Cristiano, it's your mom." She collapsed. Ambulance came. "They're taking her to St. Helena's. It doesn't look good." The world didn't spin. It stopped. Devin pulled over. Cristiano didn't speak, didn't cry. He just stared at the dashboard, eyes hollow. Then quietly said, "Take me to the hospital." Devin didn't argue. But his grip on the wheel tightened. Clarissa was unconscious when he arrived. Tubes, monitors, beeping machines that felt too loud and too quiet all at once. The nurse said it was her immune system. Said her body had been running on fumes for too long. Said they caught it in time. Barely. Cristiano sat by her bed, one hand in hers, the other gripping the trial invite like it was a blade. His bus was leaving in 42 minutes. The trial was once in a lifetime. But this was every lifetime. And he knew what he had to do. Coach Devin was waiting outside. He stood when Cristiano approached. "You're cutting it close," Devin said, hopeful. Cristiano didn't answer, just held out the envelope. "I'm staying." Devin looked at the paper, then at the boy, and exploded. "You just threw away everything," he snapped. "Everything. Do you know how many kids would kill for this? How many years?" He stopped, caught himself, lowered his voice. "Why, kid? Why now?" Cristiano's voice was calm. "Because someone stayed for me." Devin shook his head, tossed his keys on the dash, and walked away. The door slammed. Cristiano didn't flinch. 3 hours later, Emma saw the hospital photo online. Not from him, from a nurse, blurry, distant, a boy asleep beside a hospital bed, head resting near his mother's hand. She recognized the posture, the hoodie, the Phantom. She called Devin, demanded answers. He didn't have any, so she wrote the story herself. Posted that night. Headline: "The Phantom runner missed his shot to save the woman who gave him his legs." Subhead: "Cristiano Hale, the mystery athlete who stunned the internet, skipped his world-class trial today. Not for fame, but for family." Within minutes, it trended. Cristiano Hale, the boy who chose love. Chun went for her. Athletes reposted it. Coaches, journalists, celebrities. Even Brennan, in a rare moment of clarity, commented, "You've already won, man." Cristiano never saw the post. He was still in the hospital, still holding her hand, still whispering, "You're not done. We're not done." Public sentiment ignited. Not just sympathy, respect. He wasn't just a runner anymore. He was real, tangible, human. And suddenly, people weren't asking who he was. They were asking what comes next. 3 days later, Clarissa opened her eyes. She smiled weakly. You missed your trial, she whispered. Cristiano nodded. I know, she said. He waited for anger, disappointment. But all she said was, you didn't throw anything away. She squeezed his hand. You just told the world who you really are. Outside, a dozen reporters stood at the edge of the hospital fence, waiting, not for a quote, not for a headline, but for a boy with torn boots who reminded them what greatness really meant.
Winter had passed. Spring arrived without fanfare.
In Ridgeport, time moved slowly, but Cristiano did not. Every morning he still rose before the sun. The bricks were gone now, replaced by resistance bands, sandbags, a borrowed weighted vest. His cleats weren't taped anymore. Coach Devin made sure of that. But the silence stayed. No reporters, no interviews, no shortcuts. Just breath, sweat, soil. Some mornings he'd find strangers at the fence, kids with notebooks, runners in faded gym gear, college scouts pretending to pass by. He never acknowledged them. He wasn't training for them. He was training because of her. Clarissa had recovered.
Mostly.
Her body still shook some days, but she sat straighter now, smiled easier. She walked with a cane, yes, but her spirit had never needed legs to run. She watched from the porch now, a thermos of tea in hand, blanket over her knees, as her son sliced through fog like a blade forged in fire. Sometimes he'd glance over. She'd wave once. Nothing more needed. They understood each other completely. Now 2 runners, different tracks, same race. 3 months after the trial, he missed. Cristiano was finishing his second round of sprints when a black SUV rolled up by the curb. Tinted windows. Out stepped 2 men, hue suits, lanyards, polished shoes, in muddy gravel. Cristiano kept running. The taller one, British, sharp accent, waited until he finished. Only then did he approach. You're not easy to find, the man said. Cristiano didn't reply. The man nodded toward the field. No cameras, no stage. And still, here you are. Cristiano wiped his forehead. What do you want? The second man stepped forward. We're from Atlas Academy, Miami. Cristiano froze. The man continued. We saw the post, but we didn't come for the story. Beat. We came for the work ethic. Devin watched from across the street. He didn't intervene, just lit a cigarette, arms folded. Clarissa stood on the porch. The cup in her hand shook slightly. Cristiano looked at them both, his mentor, his mother, then back at the men. I'm not here for fame, he said. The British scout smiled. We're not offering fame. He held out a folder. Just an open door. 3 weeks later, Cristiano stepped onto the stadium pitch where the story had begun. Same sky. Same roar of silence.
Same torn boot, preserved now, laces frayed, tucked inside a shadow box, back home.
Only this time, something had changed. The crowd was full. The lights didn't flicker. And in the second row, third from the aisle, the seat wasn't empty anymore. Clarissa was there, scarf wrapped tight, eyes gleaming, one hand resting over her heart. He saw her, and smiled. Then the whistle blew. He didn't sprint like he was running from anything anymore. He ran like he had arrived. Like every step had led to this, not just for him, but for her. For the years she carried silence on her back. For the medals she pawned. For the sleep she gave up. For the child she built from grit and grace. And when he scored, not the first goal, but the one that made the stadium rise as one, he didn't point to the heavens. He pointed to her. There, the whole world watched. But only she understood what that gesture meant. It wasn't celebration. It was completion. In the post-match interview, someone asked, where does your strength come from? Cristiano looked into the camera, paused, then said, legends are not made from applause. They're made from torn souls, silent mornings, and mothers who never stopped running beside them. If this story hit something deeper than just football, you're in the right place. Because we don't just tell stories, we uncover the battles behind the brilliance, the quiet sacrifices, the unseen grind, the truths no highlight reel shows. And this is just one of many. Stick around. The next story might just be yours.